Good morning. I am going to try and give you guys an update tour of the garden because it's been about 3 weeks. It's been really dry, and then we've had a lot of air quality issues from smoke from Canada, and then I got sick. So we'll see. We will see if I can get through this without having a complete coughing fit. So I have a little patch of zinnias started here. They did not germinate as well as last year. I'm thinking just because it was so dry. Even with me hand watering the garden every 3-4 days, it just didn't seem like it was enough. The irises have bloomed. They were beautiful. The asparagus, as you can see, is tall and going to seed now. It's taller than me. We ate a bit of asparagus, but this patch geez, isn't super old, so you know, just not a ton to eat off of it yet. Cabbages are doing okay. Brussels sprouts are these 2 rows, and then broccoli. We did lose a Brussels sprout on the end because my daughter accidentally stepped on it and it snapped, but that's why we have so many, for when accidents happen. And here I've got some little green scallop squash that I am waiting for them to sprout. My first seeding did not sprout at all. Oh goodness. So I redid about 30 more seeds, and I'm only seeing one, maybe a second one starting, so I'm assuming I got them off of Amazon because I wanted them quick. That was a bad idea. Poor quality seeds. Don't do that. And here, strawberries, and I've got them covered. We've actually been having a good amount of strawberries this year. I mean, this is a small patch compared to my old garden. I had 2 12 by 12 strawberry patches, which was amazing. So this is not going to produce anywhere near that amount, but even just being able to eat a handful a day has been really nice. I did have to net them because the birds started eating them. They finally found them, so I got that taken care of. Ugh, sorry about the coughing, guys. I'm working on, you know, my rock border. Again, that's something I had in my old garden if you go back a couple years, and I loved, and really wanted to incorporate that here too because I love the look, and then it's just really a great visual for the kids when stuff isn't grown up early in the spring of where I don't want them to step. And here are my little, mostly herb garden. There's a few flowers and such in here. Obviously there's lilies. The peonies had an amazing amount of blooms on them this year, and I was so excited. But again, it has been so dry that even with me hand watering them every couple days, they are coming in not very cute looking. So that is a little bit of a bummer. I was really looking forward to seeing what these blooms look like, because this would be the first time I think that these bloomed, and no luck. Can't really tell what they look like when they're half brown. Yeah, everything. I mean, the yarrow, some of this stuff like the yarrow, and then over here I have a patch of chives. My old house, those would really spread easily. Here they just don't, and I'm thinking it's because of just this clay is harder for seeds to penetrate into and get started in. So I'm going to try and collect some seeds from these this year, and then hopefully, I mean, if I get a wild hair, maybe I'll start some late seeds yet this year. Otherwise, start more for next year, because I love the yarrow and I love the chives, not only for their actual uses, but just for flowers and greenery that's spread around the garden. And they're really, they're really hardy. So you can tell I haven't been lying about being sick since I keep coughing on you. Cucumbers are doing good. I planted a few little nasturtiums out here next to them. And then on this side, I've got an itty bitty little cucamelon going as well. I have just a couple green beans going, which really this is not enough for anything more than a snack. But I didn't have a great germination rate, and then some of them got bit off by critters when I was hardening them off, and I didn't feel like restarting. So it just kind of is what it is with the green beans. The veg egg garden beds, which I'll make sure I link below, are obviously doing fabulous. They are doing exactly what I needed them to do, which is they are sandy so that I can grow my root crops in them. I've got radishes, turnips, beets, kohlrabi, and then that one is all carrots. We've been eating radishes like crazy. I also stuck a few leeks in here just because I could. I love them. I would have a million more of these beds if I could. They're great. And they look nice, I think. And you know, you can get them in multiple different colors and sizes and widths, and you can get them with arches, and there's a million different accessories and all the things and whatever. They're just super cool. And I really like them. Over here, I'm not sure if I showed you guys this. I think I showed you in the last video. It's been so long. I had ordered some Egyptian walking onions off of Etsy because I think they're really cool and obviously edible, and I have wanted them for a few years, and I finally just said, you know what? Just order some. Get started now. So that's what I did. Now for seeds in here and in the carrot bed and most of these peppers, these are all in all of the broccoli. Let me think what else. And the cucumbers and more stuff that way we haven't seen yet. It was all started from my survival garden seeds. Remember, they sent me the little Homesteaders 30 pack, and I mean, they're all doing great. They're beautiful plants. A lot of them also are over in Dan's second garden. So I will make sure to link that as well. I know it's late in the season, but take a look at them for next year. So all of these green cabbages are from Survival Garden Seeds. I mean, look at how beautiful they are. I have never started cabbage from seed before, and I think they're just lovely. There's a couple red ones on the end, which I purchased at an Amish store just because I like the red ones, or purple, whatever, as well. So just a few bought, but otherwise I started all those. Again, my perennial beds filling out nicely. See, there's some open space here that I could be putting some things, but I have to figure out what I'd like to put in here. This is a purple creeping phlox. I had a pink one, but that didn't survive when I moved. So I may end up getting a pink one. I could stick it over here, but these do spread out quite a bit. I've already got the lamium there, so I could put the pink one somewhere else, put the pink one down there. Might just put in more perennial flowers over here. I do have a few flowers in that herb bed I want to move, like the spiderwort, and there's something else in there that I would move out eventually out of the herb bed. They were just kind of stuck there because that was where I moved everything when I first started this garden, because I needed it all in one spot and figured out where the heck it was going to go later. These beds are doing good. Zinnias, Cosmos, Bachelor Button. I'm excited to see how these fill out. Last year I had dahlias in here, and they did okay. They just get really big and flop over. These guys might flop over a little bit just because the way the trees are, they're going to lean into the garden for sun, but I can always just throw a string around them and stick it on the fence. And then of course I snuck in a marigold in each pot that I am hoping to train along the fence. I'm thinking I might take them both this way actually, because I have two different types of clematis there, and I don't want him interfering with the clematis, so I think I will be training it that way, which is fine. The lupine had bloomed and it was absolutely stunning. I loved it. And there's a few more plants down there that didn't bloom this year, but maybe next year. I would love to expand my lupine collection into as many colored flowers as possible. And I just love the leaves. Like, it's just so freaking cool. I could have a whole field of those and I'd be thrilled. And then obviously clematis, so pretty. This one had just finished blooming. You've seen that in prior years. This is my big white one. And this one, I think this one bloomed last year. And then the other one that I have, it might be purple, and it could be another color. I don't remember. This is the joy of being me. I'm really bad about writing things down when I buy them, and I'm also bad about keeping the tags. Some of them I will keep them and stick them by the plant, and some of them they get tossed. So it's always an adventure. More little hostas. I would love to put more hostas in here because I think they look really nice. This is pretty heavily shaded, and they do a good job of blocking out the weeds. I also may grab a few more ferns, which those grow everywhere in the woods, not in our woods because this is all weeds mostly, but in some other woods not far from here. and I could just go snag a couple and bring them here. Roses are starting to bloom. Comfrey is about to die back for the first time. Bleeding Heart is in its process of dying back. My little red rose is down here blooming. I should dig up a couple of these. Roses don't like to be crowded in too much, so really I should dig out a couple of those plants and give him more space. And obviously my row of hollyhocks are looking fabulous, so that's exciting. And we'll go back this way. So I have put in, those are some snapdragons. Those I started from seed and never done that before. I have 3 different little starts of poppies that are different ages. I have started poppies from seed direct sowing one time. I know poppies aren't supposed to like being transferred, but again, that's something that their seeds are so tiny. I was having a hard time getting them to germinate here. So I started them in little trays and moved them out here, and we will see what happens with them. Obviously some cosmos. Those are some forget-me-nots, some zinnias. I brought more nasturtiums over here. Supposedly you can train nasturtiums to climb things. I've never had mine get big enough to do that, but we're going to try it this year and see if I can get him to climb the fence at all. This is where the tulips were, and they just never bloomed. Some of them sprouted a little bit, some of them did not sprout at all, so I'm not sure if they just were not good or if I planted them too late, which is very much a likelihood, because really here most people plant tulips in the fall. And then the other possibility is that there's just not enough sun because of all these trees. So we will see what happens next spring, and if they do not do anything, I will move them into a different spot. So I'm trying to fill this bed in so that it stops washing away. So I have some yarrow, some cosmos, some zinnias, some hollyhocks, the nasturtiums on the end. This is that anise hyssop or hyssop anise, whatever. I'm just trying to get some more little roots going through here to kind of stabilize the soil, and then hopefully this will be blooming eventually and it'll be pretty. I might see if I can find a few more things to stick in there. I feel like it's kind of late to be starting seeds, especially flower seeds, and definitely flower seeds that are going in an area that is more shaded. The ranunculus is also another kind of like the tulips. They grew actually okay. I mean, they're supposed to be a lot bigger. There's still some weeds in there, but for the most part, that's the height that they got. I have a bloom trying to start, but for how many I put in here, that's practically nothing. So I'm thinking I got them out too late and they're not enough sun, which is fine. This is my first year growing ranunculus. This was kind of an experimental spot because I really didn't have anywhere else to put them this year. In the meantime, basically I'm allowing them to grow and live, and then I can save them and I will plant them in a sunnier location next year. Those will get dug up and stored just like I do with my gladiolas and just like I do with the dahlias. Garlic is doing fabulous. We have started getting some scapes. We have been eating some of them, even though they're a little bit small yet, just because I was so excited for garlic scapes that I didn't feel like waiting for them to grow. And because we have almost 500 hardneck garlic plants between these two plots, so they will all put out scapes, and I don't want 500 garlic scapes at once. They're okay if you freeze them for a couple months, but they're not my favorite. I love them fresh, sauteed. That's the best way to eat them, in my opinion, or on like a chicken Alfredo pizza. Delicious. So I just was not going to, I wasn't going to wait. I wanted them. I could eat them almost every day. I love asparagus, but I think garlic scapes might top asparagus in my book. These are all dahlias. All of these pots are ones that I had stored from last year. This pot specifically is a new variety that I found on Baker Creek Seeds. So I've started these from seed. They should still bloom this year. They will just be behind everything else if they manage to bloom. Again, they were started a little late, and this is kind of a shady spot. I could move the pot somewhere else, but I just wanted it in line with the rest of my dahlia pots, so it is what it is. If those all bloom, it's going to be gorgeous, or when they all bloom. The roses are starting to bloom. Some of these I could really dig up and replant somewhere else, but I kind of have to figure out where I would do it, because the chickens will eat the leaves of the roses and the flowers, and deer and rabbits. Although the rabbits I get in the garden haven't touched them, but there's so much other goodies for them to eat. But I just don't want my rose bushes to get eaten if I put them somewhere else. So that's kind of to be determined. Candy cane roses are pretty much always my first ones to bloom, and they're beautiful. At the old house I had a lot of different mini rose types. Most of those did not survive the transplant. Eventually I think I would like to get a few more. The only mini rose I have left is that red one I showed you. I did get a climbing rose, which is a smaller variety, but I had like white roses and this like fiery orange rose and all kinds of fun stuff that I'd love to have again. These are my eggplants from Survival Garden Seeds. I've never grown eggplant before. I don't think I've ever eaten eggplant before. So this is an experiment. As far as I know, it seems to be doing well. They seem maybe a little small, but again, it's kind of been a drought. I've been watering them, but it is what it is. I think I showed you the peppers. Those are 90% of them are Survival Garden Seeds. There's a couple in there that I got from the Amish that were just a different type than I had seeds for. Over here I've got my gladiolas, which are doing actually really well. They're a lot bigger than I thought they would be by this time, but hey, I'm all for it. I should buy, honestly, more. Not this year, but in the future, because if I remember correctly, last year most of these were a dark red color, like where they look black and then they open and it's a dark red. And I really love having like a huge variety of color of them, so I need to remember to order more ahead of time. The grow tower is just magnificent. Almost everything in here is, again, started from Survival Garden Seeds. Some of the stuff is bolting now, and that's, you know, to be expected this time of year. I just chuck it over for the chickens to eat. But honestly, I will let all of the lettuces and whatnot bolt and just flower it, because I think it'll look cool. And you're not going to eat lettuce in August anyways, because it's not going to be good. So a lot of it I've been feeding to the chickens. The leeks are not from the Survival Garden Seeds. The celery and the fennel is not. Everything else is Survival Garden Seeds. So that's... Oh, and there's some mint. There's some mint at the top that I snagged. I have a spot of mint that grows in the garden, and I always just snag a little bit and put it in here just as a filler. Along the fence line, I got rid of all of those pots. I had pots filled with so many different seeds. Hi, Fred. Some of them did okay, but my problem was, again, I used this soil. It is so stinking heavy. So a lot of the seeds didn't germinate, which I kind of knew was a possibility. I was hoping that if I kept up on the weeds in them that maybe they could, but nope. So, good morning, Fred. So I'm going to have to do those next year. And seed trays with, you know, seed starting mix, and do it the right way instead of trying to cheat. Because the cheating just does not work here with this clay. It's just too heavy. But we had some sunflowers. The bigger ones are ones that self-seeded from here last year, and then we've got little ones that the kids started that I put out here. The sunflowers didn't get super huge last year, so I am going to try to feed them a couple times this year, and hopefully they will get bigger, because some of these, probably that one, is like a mammoth sunflower seed, and they can get just absolutely huge if they have the right amount of food. So we'll see. Here was my okra. I had 5, and critters came through and nipped 2 of them off, which was good morning, Fred, super annoying. So I'm down to 3, but they're doing okay. Again, these are started from the Survival Garden Seeds, so they really did well for me, guys. I'm just bummed that I didn't start a few more since the critters nipped them off and I have empty spots now. It's really too late to start new ones here because okra kind of takes a little longer to grow. And, you know, we have a shorter growing season here. I started okra in ground last year in about this spot a few different times, and by the end of the year, they were maybe this big. So I'm hopeful that they will do better this year because I started them earlier. Again, I'm still kind of learning with some of this stuff. Okra is not something I grew up with, And I grew it at my old house and it did really well there, but there's a lot more sun and it was sandy soil. So I'm this is my second year figuring out, okay, how do we do the okra here? Maybe I need to start it in like February so it's really big before it comes out here. We will see. And then I've got the tomato trellises. A lot of these are, once again, from Survival Garden Seeds. Some of them I did buy different varieties, again, because it's nice to have a wide variety. But a lot of them are the Survival Garden Seeds. Pretty soon I'm going to have to start tying them to the trellises. I kind of need to go through and weed a little bit, but it's tomatoes and marigolds. I did not plant a ton of basil around them like I usually do, mostly because the basil that I started, I just plopped into the herb garden, and I have a lot of frozen basil, so I did not want to start some huge mountain of basil again if we have a bunch that we need to eat. Dan does not love pesto as much as the kids and I do, so I don't cook it for him. That's just kind of a snack for the kids and I, and obviously we're not going to eat, you know, pesto every day or even every week. Over here I have a couple tomato cherry varieties. I think these are Sun Gold, and those ones are like a regular red cherry. And then some tomatillos. Last year I grew a tomatillo and it was beautiful, but I only grew one, and they really need two to pollinate. It did set some fruit, just not as much as it would have if I had had a buddy for it. So this year it's got a buddy. Again, it's not really something I've ever really eaten. I know people make like salsa verde with it, so I try to like grow something new every year that I've never eaten or never grown and see if I like it or not. If I do, great, keep growing it. If I don't, great, get rid of it. Here's my other row of gladiolas. These are the ones that were really little. Some of them are growing up a decent size and might bloom, and some of them are teeny tiny, and we're just giving them, you know, the gladiola nursery for the year, which is fine. These trees, I told Dan I'm going to make him cut down this fall when we have the garden cleared out, because they just shade too much. They need to go. There's enough shade in this garden already. I don't need more shade. Along this back section of the fence, I actually have more tomatoes. Some of them, again, are bought. Some of them are, I think, more cherry varieties that we picked up at the Amish greenhouse. And then there's a couple Survival Garden Seed tomatoes in here as well. A little locust tree coming in that I need to chop. So lots of tomatoes. The ones I had on this fence last year did not really do well, I think because it's so shaded, and then they were late, and then I didn't keep up with weeding or watering them. So I'm trying to be kinder to these tomatoes this year and see how they produce because I just don't have enough space on my tomato trellises, and it would be nice to be able to use the fence as another tomato growing spot, but we'll see how they do. This guy, he had a delicata squash that did not make it, so he'll probably get moved over to the end of the tomato because I accidentally hoed my one marigold that I had as a marker at the end of the tomatoes there. This delicata squash did make it, and I am playing around with the idea of moving him up to where the okra is. The only problem is they vine out quite a bit. I don't really want that mess up there, so we'll see. And then the zucchini are all doing beautiful. Pretty sure these are all Survival Garden Seeds. Again, they got this like 30 varieties of seeds. It's a lot. I can't even remember what it all was at this point in time. And that was in their small package. They've got a couple other packages. And then I think you can buy just seeds not in the packages too from them. So definitely worth checking out. But yeah, this is how the garden is doing. You see, we got the kids' pool set up and they got the trampoline over there. So busy summer of gardening. I'm really loving how the garden looks this year. Last year I didn't set it up to be tilled because I was used to my old garden that I didn't till, and that just didn't work here. The weeds went crazy, and then I had so many vining plants in here you could hardly walk anywhere. Well, this year all of my vining plants except for that delicata squash are out in Dan's garden, which I have yet to show you guys. And then there's just a lot more space between things so that I can till. I could have squeezed things in a little more, but a lot of these things as they fill out are going to take up quite a bit of space. I'd rather have more empty space that I need to till than have not enough space and it be hard to walk around in here. So that is how the garden's doing, and what is it? I think it's July 15th today, 14th? The 14th or 15th. I don't know. It's Thursday morning. So I am going to go have a cup of coffee before the kiddos get up. And I'm going to start working on my blog post for spring 2023. If you haven't been on my website, it's actually pretty cool. You should check it out. There's like merchandise. If you want anything with my logo on it, which is all the critters, I actually on my merchandise site have started posting, doing some pictures of flowers and stuff that you can put on like mugs or shirts or notebooks. So if you ever see a picture that I have on my Instagram, because I don't update the merch site very often, and you're like, hey, I'd love to have that on a notebook or a mug, let me know and I can go add it to the site. I have my prices set really, really low there. So most of what you're paying for is actually the manufacturing cost, and I get a couple bucks. Some of them it's a couple cents. I have links to my book that I wrote about chickens if you have not checked that out. What else do I have? There's a couple random update blog posts, but for the most part it's recipes. And then I have transitioned into kind of, because a lot of people do like a weekly blog and I just can't keep up with that. I'm now doing it through the seasons. So you can go back and see what we did last winter, etc. And there'll be tons of pictures. And then if I posted any videos or recipes, I try to link them all in that blog post. So the summer one or the spring one is due to come out. Usually I try to do it by the start of the next season. So summer starts next week. So I need to start working on the spring one so you guys can go see all the updates, because I'm just not as good at updating YouTube as I really should be. And Instagram, I'm not as great at updating as I should be either, especially since they ended their Reels pay program, which was a bummer because I was making $100 a month from that, and now that went bye-bye. So I just don't have the incentive because $100 a month was nice for flowers or tattoos or some extra groceries or whatever, gas, and now I'm not getting it, so whatever. Now I just do what I like to do. So let me know how your gardens are going, and I will try, I don't know, let me know how much you like doing update or seeing update videos from the garden. I could do once a week. Not a lot changes in here week to week. So they'd be shorter. This one's long because one, it's been a couple weeks, and two, I'm rambling. So it could be like a 5-minute garden tour weekly instead of a 20-minute garden tour, or more at this point probably. But I don't know. I just never know with YouTube. YouTube's weird. But dogs are barking, chickens are running around. I'm gonna go have my coffee, guys.